A small request before starting the video. If you love the channel's topic, then subscribe to the channel now and press the bell icon next to it. Because one of your subscriptions encourages me to make better videos. YNR's Billy Flynn reveals his biggest Cain challenge. The young and the restless star Billy Flynn has been making his mark on the role of Cain Ashby since his debut in June. Cain was previously played by General Hospital star Daniel Goddard, so Flynn knew he had his work cut out for him. Nerves, insecurity, and shyness. Flynn is no stranger to playing a recast. It's how he came into Days of Our Lives as Chad after Casey Daedric's exit from the show. However, playing Cain brought a whole new set of challenges for Flynn. The physical difference between him and Goddard is the biggest challenge for fans. Goddard is older, taller, and Australian. That's not the biggest challenge for Flynn. Speaking with Entertainment Tonight, Flynn revealed the toughest thing for him in taking over as Cain. Building a new character, he expressed. Even though it was like a rebrand of an old character. Working with all these new people that you've seen or you've watched over the years, and now you're in a scene with them, especially with somebody like Eric Braeden, and you're sitting across from him, and all of a sudden your legs start shaking and you're like, oh God. Flynn admitted that what he wants is to simply be good at his new job and in his new role. I think that's the hardest part, getting out of your own way and saying, like, just be yourself and do the things that made you successful on the last show, the actor stated. The soap star admitted feeling insecure and shy about starting a new job after a decade at Days. Lucky for him, Flynn's YNR co-stars have welcomed him with open arms. Flynn shared that the cast and crew on YNR have been so kind as he finds his bearings on the show. YNR's Billy Flynn reveals his biggest Cain challenge. The young and the restless has never been short on powerhouse performances, but when Billy Flynn stepped into the complex world of Genoa City as Cain, fans immediately knew something different was unfolding. Flynn, already beloved by daytime audiences for his commanding screen presence and emotional depth, didn't just inherit a role, he inherited history. And according to the actor himself, that history has proven to be his biggest challenge yet. In a candid reveal that has fans buzzing, Flynn opened up about what it truly means to take on Cain and why this chapter of his career has pushed him further than ever before. For viewers who have followed every twist of corporate warfare, romantic heartbreak, and family betrayal on YNR, Cain is no lightweight character. He carries legacy, baggage, and unfinished business. And Flynn knew from day one that stepping into those shoes would require more than memorizing lines and hitting marks. His biggest challenge? Finding Cain's emotional truth while honoring the character's complicated past. Flynn admitted that the weight of expectation was immediate. Cain isn't just another businessman in a tailored suit. He's been a lover, a father, a schemer, and at times, a fallen hero. Fans have strong opinions about who Cain is and who he should be. Balancing that audience attachment with his own interpretation became a delicate dance. Rather than trying to replicate what came before, Flynn focused on understanding why Cain makes the choices he does. You can't play a legacy, he hinted in his reflection. You have to play the man. That meant diving into Cain's vulnerabilities, the insecurities behind the bravado, the loneliness beneath the ambition. And that's where the real challenge began. Cain's world is built on power plays and emotional landmines. His connections to Lily, his complicated alliances, and his history with the Newman orbit mean that every scene carries subtext. Flynn revealed that mastering those layers required intense preparation. It wasn't enough to show anger or confidence. He had to show the flicker of doubt underneath. He had to show the cost. Insiders say that behind the scenes, Flynn approached Cain almost like a method actor. He studied past storylines, watched key emotional arcs, and asked probing questions about what drives Cain at his core. Is he motivated by love? By redemption? By ego? The answer, Flynn realized, was all of it, and none of it in isolation. One of the hardest aspects, he shared, has been portraying Cain's internal conflict without tipping too far into villain territory. In Genoa City, the line between hero and antagonist is razor thin. Cain has made questionable decisions before, and new storylines threaten to push him into even darker territory. Flynn's challenge has been to keep audiences rooting for Cain even when his choices spark outrage. That balancing act has already paid off on screen. Recent episodes have shown a more introspective Cain, a man who appears confident in boardroom battles but reveals cracks in private moments. Flynn's performance has leaned into subtlety, the hesitation before a cutting remark, the flash of regret after a strategic betrayal, the quiet stare that lingers just a second too long. These nuances haven't gone unnoticed by fans, many of whom have taken to social media praising the fresh energy he's brought to the role. But it hasn't been easy. Flynn confessed that daytime television's demanding pace adds another layer of difficulty. There's little time to overthink or redo. Scripts move quickly. Emotional climaxes sometimes land back-to-back with corporate confrontations. Maintaining consistency in Cain's emotional arc amid that whirlwind requires laser focus. Then there's the chemistry factor. Cain's relationships are central to his story, especially where Lily is concerned. Rebuilding or redefining that dynamic under a new interpretation carries enormous pressure. Flynn acknowledged that creating authentic chemistry with longtime cast members meant earning trust. It meant listening deeply in scenes rather than trying to dominate them. It meant allowing Cain to be vulnerable. And vulnerability, he revealed, is perhaps the most uncomfortable challenge of all. Cain is often written as controlled, strategic, composed. To peel back that armor in front of millions of viewers, and in front of scene partners who have lived with the character for years, requires courage. Flynn described moments where he had to lean into emotional exposure, trusting that audiences would connect with honesty over perfection. That trust is beginning to show in the storytelling. Rumors are swirling that upcoming arcs will place Cain at the center of a major power shift in Genoa City. Corporate rivalries are intensifying. Alliances are shifting. And personal stakes are. That moral gray area is where Flynn thrives. Rather than leaning into obvious villain cues, he reportedly approaches Cain's darker impulses from a place of fear. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of failure. Fear of losing love. When ambition is rooted in insecurity, it becomes tragically relatable. And that relatability is key. Because Cain isn't supposed to be a cartoon antagonist. He's a man who has tasted success and loss. A man who has rebuilt before. A man who might convince himself that bending the rules is justified if the outcome feels noble enough. Flynn's challenge has been making sure the audience understands that internal justification, even when they disagree with it. Off-camera, castmates have hinted that Flynn brings an intensity to rehearsals that elevates scenes. He asks for emotional stakes. He wants reactions to feel earned. That collaborative energy has strengthened Cain's dynamics not just with Lily, but with longtime power players orbiting Victor and the Newman Empire. And speaking of Victor, the looming presence of Genoa City's ultimate strategist only adds pressure. Any storyline that places Cain in Victor's crosshairs is automatically high voltage. Flynn reportedly sees those scenes as chess matches rather than shouting matches. The tension lies in what's unsaid. That layered approach suggests Cain's future isn't about explosive outbursts. It's about calculated risks. Yet for all the strategy, Flynn insists that Cain's core remains emotional. Stripped of suits and strategy, he's still a man who wants connection. Who wants respect. Who wants to prove he belongs. Perhaps that's the heart of Flynn's biggest Cain challenge, portraying a man who is constantly trying to prove himself, to his family, to his rivals, and maybe most of all to himself. As upcoming episodes promise corporate shakeups, romantic tension, and possible betrayals that could rock multiple families, one thing feels clear. Flynn isn't playing it safe. He's embracing the risk that comes with redefining a character mid-legacy. And in daytime television, that kind of boldness can either crumble under pressure, or create magic. Right now, it feels like magic. Fans are debating Cain again. They're questioning his motives. They're analyzing his expressions. They're invested. And in the world of soaps, that investment is everything. Billy Flynn may have identified honoring Cain's past as his initial challenge. But transforming Cain into something sharper, more conflicted, and impossible to ignore might be the achievement that defines this era.